Welcome to the Lost Vet podcast, where we are helping you get back to your passion and purpose. I'm your host, Dr. Melodie Chan, and we're continuing our dive into taking back control in our lives. One of the common pieces of advice that I hear about gaining more personal time back is to reduce the number of days in the work week or some variation of that. And in chapter 2 of Rob's book, The Lost Vet, he provides some perspective on why this might not be the big solution to help manage that feeling of overwhelm. So in this episode of Destination People, I wanted to expand on why that is and perhaps some other ways to look at our work days and our days off. So,
Okay.
Rob, in The Lost Vet, one of your section titles is Reducing Your Hours and Serving Your Patients. However, you actually go on to say in that section that, reduction of days in the work week may not actually be the key to feeling energized again at work. So maybe help me understand why you say that in that section.
Yeah, because even when you just kind of said it out to me, it felt like I had a heart pause for a second. Was that a contradiction? Did I contradict myself in that statement? And then I think really what we're speaking about is about the quality of the work that you're doing and about how you think about the type of work that is your responsibility and also the type of work that isn't your responsibility. So of course, if you still have the same customers and you still have the same volume and you still have all the same responsibilities, then to cut your work hours is just going to make you have to work harder, logically, and more intensely on those individual tasks or those responsibilities. Whereas I think this is really about looking at the quality and where your time is best spent, how you can serve your customers best. And I think later in the book, we talk about kind of segmenting or thinking about the different types of customers you have and not treating them all with the kind of arbitrary same value of a customer as a customer. But also that's true for your time as well, thinking about, well, not just about what is your responsibility, but I would even take that step further and think about what am I actually good at? And then another step further and say, what makes me happy? So I think there's a number of different ways to think about your work. I know Dan Sullivan talks about kind of 4 different ways that you can look at how you spend your time when he's talking about unique ability. He talks about your unique ability. He talks about being excellent. He talks about competence and incompetence. And I think over the last few years of being on Dan's program, I've really enjoyed thinking about those different things. And funny enough, not necessarily about those areas at the top around what my unique ability is. I think I'm still trying to figure that out. But more interestingly, what I'm incompetent at. And there's an awful lot of things when I start to examine my work where by me being involved in it, it actively slows it down. So I think what you could do is you could look at the work that you have. I think the way Dan talks about it is if you kind of find that your energy is killed by the thought of that work, if it doesn't give you energy to do the work, if it doesn't drive joy or happiness, then that's probably in one of the 3 categories other than unique ability. So thinking about my incompetent tasks, of which there are many, it forces you to think about, right, well, who is uniquely positioned to help me in that? Who has a key strength in that area? Who actually enjoys that type of work? Who would actually be thrilled to get the opportunity to do that kind of thing? And what I'm realizing that the older I get and the longer I run my own business, it's actually surprising how few things I really love doing. And I always thought I love business. I love being self-employed. I love working for myself. But coming back to the original question around the quality of the work that you do, it's actually really narrow the amount of things that make me happy. And there's an awful lot of things that even 2 or 3 years ago, I thought, yeah, I like doing that. But now when I'm really being hard on myself about it, it's like, I'm good at it, but does that mean I like it? And I think there's a distinction there that Dan makes with that model. So I think it's okay just to admit to yourself that you're quite bad at most things, and also acknowledge the fact there are many people which are just completely fantastic at those things. And if we never give people the opportunity to put their hand up or share what some of the things we don't like doing, people will just assume you like doing everything, especially if you're the owner of the business. So I would, just as an encouragement to you, to not place too much value in the work itself and place more value on the quality of your time, the value of your time, the protection of your time, and really decide and be clear about where your incompetencies lie. First of all, I think that's where my mind goes when I think of this question. What do I suck at, and then how do I get other people that can shine in those areas involved, and then work backwards towards your unique ability. And I think that's been my process, and it's getting easier and easier every year to say no to things, and it's getting easier and easier to recognize what I'm really quite poor at.
Yeah, I think it's both the recognizing what you feel like you're incompetent in, but also I think that piece of, what does not bring you joy, to sort of bring in the Marie Kondo approach of like, does this bring you joy or not? In the context of veterinary medicine and veterinary clinics, I know I'm hearing more clinics that are actually having discussions with their employees and their teams. Just take the veterinary team as an example, on asking them, what do you like doing and what do you not like doing? A really great example is this is some people love doing surgery and some people hate doing surgery. They'd rather be doing the internal medicine part, whereas the person who's maybe more gravitates more to the surgery side couldn't care less, or it doesn't fill their cup, if you will. The challenge is we graduate out of tech school or veterinary school, and you're kind of expected to be able to do it all. I mean, one of the discussions of being a veterinarian is, oh, you're so much more than human med. You have to know everything. And ergo, it's sort of, you need to be the jack of all trades. But what I'm hearing in some other clinics that are having these open discussions as a group, as they're trying to figure out, if one vet really loves doing surgery and the other one's terrified every time they have to come into work knowing there's going to be surgeries for them booked, why not actually then give the people what they want to do? And one clinic I know in particular takes us one step further, and they'll list out all the things that need to be done, say in a role or for one particular part of the clinic. People will pick out all the things that they like doing. They'll sort of try to distribute it to who likes doing what. There's always that pile of things that no one likes doing, but they can all see it. And then they all actually as a team go, okay, that's the list of things that no one really likes doing, so we'll share the workload.
Yeah. That might even be someone's job that's not employed yet. That could be an opportunity for someone to gain employment by taking up those specific things. That's really interesting. Because when you're talking there, my memory goes back to my dad, and he built up. He was self-employed, and he kind of built and ran two gas stations. One was a really big one, and one was kind of slightly smaller. My dad, normally you'd find my dad on the forecourt picking up litter and cleaning petrol pumps. Like, that was my dad's absolute favourite thing to do, was go and mind the business in a very practical way. He loved stacking shelves, all that kind of stuff. He really hated dealing with people and found that immeasurably stressful. And so when he did get good people managers in the business, it transformed him. It absolutely transformed him, because it took such an amount out of him. So I like that way of aggregating the work and seeing what's left. And do you know what I think? This might be a topic for another conversation, but what tends to fly in the face of thinking that way are job descriptions, because we become so siloed about what a job is and what responsibilities people have, that we can't think that someone else could. Why does the receptionist, why can't they do the accounts if they're really good at it? Why is that not a career opportunity for them? We think in too narrow a way. I think we almost squish the person into the job description rather than find out what the talents they have as a person, how can they contribute to the success of the business, and then look at what their job description could be. So I think there's a few interesting things you just raised there.
Yeah, definitely leads into that discussion of the training, mentoring, coaching thought process.
Mm,
Because I guess I would challenge you on the things that you're incompetent at that you would just sort of run away from. In
mm,
so far as there may be some tasks. So if you think of a new graduate or a new employee where they they're incompetent, consciously incompetent, but it's something they do want to improve on or to actually get better at. And I think there is still that area or time to put in of just understanding, okay, there are some areas of incompetence that we still have to train because the person needs to have a baseline level of competence within the clinic itself. But there are also people I see that, again, try to do it all. Like you get up higher and higher and they're
mm.
trying to do it all, where some tasks could be outsourced and it's just not working.
Wow, you're really triggering me here because I'm dying to go on a big rant.
Go for it.
So, well, I won't go on a big rant, but I really like that point, like, because I think there's there's an idea around kind of, well, you got to be good at, you need to understand it, or you need to have some basic level of competency around certain things. And I don't, in principle, right, I don't actually disagree with that. I think there's lots of things that you need to have a basic level of understanding of to be able to recognize the work that goes into it, or um, the difficulty of something, or even knowing that it isn't for you. You have to get a certain level of competence to even recognize the fact that it doesn't belong to you. But if I go back to thinking about, if we go beneath the surface about who we are, our natural tendencies, the way we naturally prefer to be, you can think of Colby, or you can think of DISC, or you can Clifton Strengths, or all these different ways of psychometrically understanding who you are as a person. I think these hard wirings, these drives that we have towards certain patterns, certain types of work. So I think this is what I always find really interesting. Like when I did my Colby profile, for example, that was probably one of the most empowering things that's ever happened to me, because it split me up into 4 different ways, as these things often do. But it was 4 ways that really made sense to me about not just how I like to work, but also how I don't like to work. So when you were just talking there about, this basic level of competency, I think I started immediately thinking around wherever because I'm a quick start personality within Colby, so I'm like a 10 quick start. I just initiate. I've very, very few fears around risk and so on. But then I've no follow through and I've no fact finder. But that doesn't mean that it's a negative. That just means I can visualize things. I can see things perhaps that other people can't see. So the problem I've always found in my own business is you visualize something and then you get drawn into the doing, because you think, well, I need to understand a little bit about it. But actually what I've found is, like with this podcast, or like Wendy with the website, or like with my accountant, like whenever you just kind of just go, I literally don't know anything about this, please guide it in whatever way you see fit, the learning actually comes from the expert. And rather than me kind of hack-handedly trying to figure out how to do a podcast, or trying to figure out how to do my bookkeeping or anything like that, working with someone brilliant allows you to learn way quicker than trying to figure something out for yourself. So I suppose where I'm coming from is, if you think about your behaviors, your true nature, the things you really can bring to the world as your great strengths, your great abilities, the recognition of the fact that you don't need competency in anything really other than the things you're brilliant at, because when you're learning from someone that is brilliant at it, that makes it frictionless, because they're owning it, they're doing a great job of it. You can just watch in admiration and go, oh my God, I never would have thought of that. It's so brilliant. It's exciting to work with experts and talented people. Whereas trying to be competent at something, it's a personal thing. that I just find it kills my energy towards wanting to learn about it. It just makes it into a drag rather than something which I should be like getting someone who's really good at it to teach me about just enough, not everything, but just enough so I can engage with it.
Yeah. I think to put it in a concrete example within a vet clinic where I see this being relevant maybe could be that practice owner who is really good at the patient care, at really good with the clients, really good at being a veterinarian, may not be so brilliant at people managing, and may not have an office manager or an HR manager for that matter, that takes that off their plate. And I've seen this countless times where you're, again, it's your business as a veterinarian, so you feel like you should be good at, because veterinarians are wired that way, we should be good at all of these things. For heaven's sakes, we went through veterinary school. We should be able to learn how to do the accounting. We should be able to learn how to manage the people, how to do the scheduling. And I think, again, what that point you bring up is ask for help. Look for those people that actually have that extra skill set that can help. Again, if you're actually somebody who loves managing people, then, and you're feeling overwhelmed at work, then I think that harder question to have with yourself is you need to give something up to make that space. I see too often veterinarians that are doing a full load of veterinary caseload work and then still trying to manage the business where you don't have that many hours in a day. And so I think the hard conversation to have with yourself is that push pull of okay, I need to carve out some time. What is it that I truly love? What is it that I'm actually providing most benefit for the business, for the practice, for the people, and making that taking the time to carve that out in your schedule.
It's really true, but yeah, I agree with you. I think that's really difficult for a lot of people, though. And like, for example, I thought for me when I started to work with my previous office manager, I laid out there's some non-negotiables. There are some things that I will always do. Right, I'll always do invoicing, that kind of stuff. And then, goodness me, it took me about 3 months, and I was like, please take invoicing, right? And I thought there was things that I thought I could never give up because they were too important or they were too personal and whatever. And actually, nothing's important. Really, nothing's important. It's just work. And some people are uniquely talented at that work. I really, this idea about an entrepreneur, and it's good to see some of these messaging coming through on business, because most people don't view themselves as entrepreneurs. They view themselves as business owners. I have my business and I want to do a good job running my business. We can't be good at everything. It's not possible to be good at, and in fact, be brilliant at 3 things and let other people in. And it doesn't mean you have to hire people directly. Like my office manager now, she lives in South Africa. Like, she's based in a completely different continent, and there's only an hour time difference between the two of us, which is another advantage. But she's super. She does a great job, and we don't need to be. And it's on a rolling contract, so it doesn't need to be a permanent thing. She has other clients as well. It's not just anymore we have to have people in our building doing work for us. We've got a global workforce available to us in really super niche areas. Like my wife, for her business, has someone working with her at the moment who's just really good with a particular type of website platform, because that's where she's building her website. So we can really get very, very specific help as well. So we don't even have to generalize into marketing or accounts. We can be really specific and go, I want someone to create monthly accounts for me, a profit and loss. So I want someone to create a strategic financial plan for my business. There are people out there, regardless of location, that can help you with those things. And you're right, Melodie. We need to ask for help from other people. If you really want to reduce your hours down and increase the quality, you got to let other people in. You have to let other people in and recognize where you don't belong.
As always, a really great conversation with Rob as we talked about how do we regain control of our lives in the space of our work. And I think what it boils down to me from our conversation is two things: is really reflecting on what brings you joy in your day-to-day at work, and figuring out, what are the things that make you happy, trying to do more of those in your day-to-day, and sitting back and reflecting on what you might need to outsource. Put in another way that I know sounds really hurtful to veterinarians and those who are high performers is what you may be incompetent at, which is okay. We cannot be good at everything, and you cannot be expected to like everything. So, think about what are some of the things that you can divest off of your plate, and surround yourself with great people who either they're already really good at it, or it's a development opportunity for other people who may actually have interest in the areas that you don't like. Because if you're just going from that island to island of getting through the week just to get to the weekend or your days off, and you're just really grinding through the week and not enjoying it, that's a really tough space to be in. So I think it's just taking that moment to step back and remember why you got into this business in the first place. Why did you want to work in a veterinary clinic? Why did you want to be in the animal health industry? And what are the things that you bring to it? Because we're all good at something, and we're all good at multiple things, but we're also not good at a whole bunch of other things too, and that's okay. So taking the time to reflect on that, and that may help you actually regain a sense of happiness and contentment with your work week. Thanks for listening. Until next time.